for current. Discrimination in the mortgage industry is often talked about when originating a loan from the beginning or in the underwriting process. But what about discrimination in appraisals? Have you seen your appraisal maybe just here we have limited housing inventory, but that appraiser is really bringing down that value on the home. And you guys have seen that cartoon in the past, how the lender looks at the home, how you look at the home, how the buyer looks at the home, how the appraiser looks at the home, how the tax assessor looks at the home. But I want to talk about something serious that happened in 2020 and again in 2021. So we have around August of 2020, you have the Horton family, who is a mixed family, African-American, white. The appraisal is done that came in very, very, very low. But then I thought here in 2021, is this still an issue today? And I found another reference of what happened just this year. So on the first one, the Hortons, the first appraisal came in at $330,000. Mrs. Horton, who's African-American and also an attorney, feared discrimination occurred. So they requested a second appraisal. Prior to the second appraiser showing up, they removed all of her pictures, their mixed race child's pictures. She exited the home. I think she went to Target shopping, right? The second appraisal came in at a 40% increase from the first appraisal. And you're thinking, well, Dave, that's just an isolated incident, except for what I found in 2021. The first appraisal came in at $989,000. This was in California. Borrowers think in discrimination because they've done a lot of fix-up to the home. So again, the borrower asked for a second appraisal. Now, prior to the second inspection, they added other pictures on the wall, pictures that weren't really their family. The second appraisal came in at 1.482, almost $500,000 higher.
What up, YouTube? It's your brother Trey with Unpopular Opinions. So today, I'm actually finishing up my CE courses so that I can renew my NMLS license so that I can originate mortgages if that's something that I choose to do coming in 2022. Now, upon me doing my continuing education courses, I came across, we're in the ECOA, HMDA area right now, where they're talking about discrimination and the ways that the federal government using different programs and entities that help mitigate and identify discrimination when it comes to real estate transactions, when it comes to purchasing houses and applying for credit. And one of the things that I just learned today was, like, I know some of you guys aren't aware of it, there's something called redlining, right? And so redlining is where companies will intentionally discriminate against giving access to credit towards certain people in certain areas, right? So the reason why they call it redlining is because, let me fix this camera real quick, you guys, it's kind of bothering me a little bit. So the reason why they call it redlining is because back in the day, before the internet and things like that, there would be legitimate like maps of all the areas and different communities in a specific city, state, whatever. And what mortgage companies would do, credit companies would do, is they would actually redline the credit, what's the risk adverse people. They're more likely to default on their loans, their credit, things like that. And they're typically almost always in African Americans, but they also group in other people of color. So basically anything besides white. It's another form of racism, Jim Crow type of deal. And so we've got HMDA, we've got ECOA, and we've got so many different things out there nowadays that actually try to help mitigate that. So long story short, anyways, what I wanted to get in and tell you guys was the examples that this course gave to me that I just thought was fucking fascinating. I've never heard about it in my business, in the stuff that I've done. I've never heard about this shit. And this is something that you need to know. If you're going to go get houses, if you're going to purchase a home, if you plan on starting a family, this is something that's extremely important to know about, you guys. A house and a mortgage is going to be one of your most expensive purchases in your life. You have, especially if you're gonna sell it, you don't want to look. So he gave me two different stories. There was a family called the Hortons or something like that. It's a mixed couple. Husband was white, wife was black. The wife was an attorney. Now what happened was they got an appraisal on their house. Their first appraisal was about $383,000. And because they've done their research, they looked at other comparable houses in their area. What they determined, they were like, this seems a little low. So we're going to request a second appraisal before we sell this house. And so before they got the second appraisal, what they did was removed all of her pictures, removed all of her pictures in the household, removed all the pictures of the mixed babies, and they just kept the husband and white stuff in the household. Now, when that second appraisal came, the house jumped up. The appraisal for this, the second appraisal was a 40% increase from the original $383,000. So if we do that math, you guys, that was about $570,000 was what the second appraisal came out to compared to the fucking $380,000 that they got. And so, right, you're thinking that's a one-off situation that just sounds, a little, whatever. It is a little suspicious. But in 2021, that happened in 2020, by the way, you guys. It happened last year. In 2021, there was another case of something happening just like that in California. This family got an appraisal for their property in California, $989,000. That sounds fantastic. You're in California. What are you talking about? And it's in a great neighborhood too. $998,000. So they still requested a second appraisal as well. What they ended up doing instead was this time they also removed, not only did they remove the pictures, but they actually added different pictures to show a different house and different people living in the house. They put white pictures. They put pictures of white families that don't live in the house. The house got appraised for $1.4 million on that second time, you guys. Now, what this means, you guys, is so unfortunate, but this is something that goes on. This is another way of racism. This is another way of using the system and things you don't know. If you will get affected by things you are unaware of if you are not educated, especially in certain areas. And when it comes to real estate, it comes to mortgages and credit and shit like that, you guys, this is a huge thing. $989,000 sounds like a lot, but if your house is actually worth $1.5 million, that's $500,000 more on that you're gonna get, half the 500 fucking K. Now, what this means, you guys, how do you avoid this? Once again, man, there are companies, there are things out there with the federal government is trying to mitigate this and help this out as much as possible. But as we saw in 2020, we see the deaths of all these people out here. If it's not happening physically before your eyes, it's happening behind the closed doors. It's happening behind the curtains. It's happening on the paperwork. You have got to understand how the game works. So I am suggesting that sometimes there are just some things you can't avoid, but you can help to soften the blow as much as possible. Now, when it comes to houses and real estate and things like that, sometimes it may, especially if you're colored, this may be something to help out, especially when you're thinking about selling your property. Put some pictures of white people in your house, man. Put some pictures of white shit in your household. Remove your pictures. It feels like you shouldn't have to do something like that, but it's better to, just do it, man. Just fucking do it. Until we have some things that are really gonna protect you, all you have is your education and knowledge on how to prevent these types of things from happening. Now, as far as taking legal action against the appraisers and things like that, the attorney, I don't know what she did, I don't know how they did it, but apparently they did something, because now I'm learning about that in my CE education courses. Shout out to mortgageeducators.com, and if you are an NMLS license holder and you still need to renew your license, go to the Mortgage Educators. It's a really good thing, man. It's online. I'm not sponsored by them, by the way. I'm just telling you because this is what I'm doing. So they're really good. The renewal process is very easy. It's all pictures, it's all videos for the most part, and it's got a couple quizzes on it. Really good. You can do an online self-study as well. So the 8 to 7 hours, you don't have to take a class. You can do it on your own time. You only have 15 days to renew your license anyway. So if you missed that, man, shit, hey. But with that being said, man, really, please look out for yourself. I thought this was extremely, extremely, extremely fucking niche, and like, I've never heard about this anywhere. These families lived in nice homes, had nice houses, they fixed it up, they put a lot of money into these houses, and they assumed that it was, you know, the appraiser doesn't seem right. So they put white families, white faces, white pictures, removed themselves out of it. Guess what? They got a 40%, sometimes 50% increase on their appraisal. This is something interesting, worth taking note of, you guys. Just think about it. If you had a house, if I had a house, not gonna lie, I would do some shit like that if I'm trying to sell it, man. Not even gonna lie. Is it the right thing to do? No. Is it the right that people are still discriminating in 2021, probably going into 2022, most definitely going to 2022? No, it's not right. But you know what? You got to do what it takes. You got to do what's necessary, man. So if this helped anybody, man, I hope it did. I'm going to be giving some education and stuff like this, taking all kinds of videos and stuff out here. And I'm going to finish up this little penis lengthening thing because I don't really want to talk too much about it. But I know I want to put these videos out here just in case anybody is ever just wondering about this sort of stuff, you know. So with that being said, man, it's your brother Trey with Unpopular Opinions, man. I hope y'all have a great one. Stay safe and happy holidays.